big day is here. The UK is finally divorcing the EU. After 3.5 years of seemingly endless negotiations, delays, ministerial trips back and forth between London and Brussels, we now have the unique opportunity of witnessing the Brexit unicorn.
Brexit means Brexit, and we're going to make a success of it.
Story of Brexit.
Deal Brexit.
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 Brexit. Brexit.
Wait, why does it look like nothing's changed? Well, just because you can't see Brexit doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Well, the UK isn't about to dive headfirst into single life anytime soon. For now, there'll be no new relationships or partners. Divorce is pretty tough, and it'll take some time to get over things, which is why there'll be an 11-month-long therapy or transition period where the UK and the EU will talk about their new relationship. That means for now, the UK stays in the comfort zone of the single market, the customs union, and the budget. The first day when they'll stop cohabiting and go their separate ways will be January the 1st, 2021. If there are no delays. So despite the UK staying for a little while, it'll be like renting a room in a house share. You can live there and help with bills, except you'll have no say in any house matters. British MEPs will be sent home and won't take part in any decisions. And definitely no Union Jacks allowed.
I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye. And we'll look forward in the future to working with you.
Please sit down, resume your seats, put your flags away you're leaving, and take them with you if you are leaving now.
Alright, Shalom. This is Hara 1 by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim La Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai by Hashem Harakah Kodash Ma'amath. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Agwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. This is Job 20:4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? All right. Now we're actually witnessing the triumphing of the triumphing of the wicked being cut short. All right, because the prophecies are playing out, and you have what just kicked off on January 30th, something called the Brexit. Now, the reason I want to go into this because the Brexit didn't completely happen yet. Right now, they just signed the paperwork. They agreed to it. They've been released from the Parliament by the European Union. They agreed to it, and now going into 2021, they plan on making it complete, meaning no more financial or economic attachments to Europe. All right, but right now they're still going to be Britain is still going to be tied to the European Union through economic means and financial means. All right. But they'll be able to trade in the midst of the European Union, but they won't have any say so, and they won't have a flag, and they won't have a seat in the Parliament, the EU Parliament. So for the rest of this year, they'll be kind of like a ghost in the system. All right. But then towards the end of the year, that's when Britain will be able to make deals with other nations, create their own currency, basically becoming a competitor within the European Union, a new competitor, which basically going to start war. All right. So we're witnessing it happening. And I want to get into a few precepts, just kind of show that prophecy is really kicking off. And one major point I want to make, but knowest thou not this of old, man? And that's the point, of old, of ancient times, and the Old Testament is written. All right, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, man. So Esau has been ruling upon this earth and really kicking off since the time of Alexander the Greek. All right. That's the time they really kicked off their rulership. You know, you had Philip the Macedonian with the Greeks, but the main one that really kicked it off and took over the whole world, the known world at that time, was Alexander the Greek in 333 BC. All right, and then the Diadochi and so on and so on. So from that time all the way up until now, that's a short time period, man. All right, and especially when the European Union was established, what would you call it? The Treaty of Rome. All right, in 1957. So that whole union they built, NATO in 1949 and 1951 or 52. That's all of that, man. The beast, all right, with America being established, their whole system is being pulled apart, man. All right. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And they're being consumed with his word today, man. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. When he shows up in his glory, when Yahushua shows up, he's going to destroy all these nations. He's going to destroy, America, the European Union, and the beast, the dragon. All right. Verse 9. Even him who is coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in him and them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, and that they might be saved. All right, so the wicked has been revealed. All right, so we can see all their works, all their lying wonders, all the works that they've done upon this earth. This is Mark 3:26. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. All right. So Satan, these nations, man, the adversary, all right, the wicked, the Britons, all those European countries, the elite bankers, the Illuminati, the secret societies, Esau, man, the so-called white man, Caucasian race, that took over the whole world. All right, so they're being revealed, and it's being witnessed or manifested of them being divided, man, on their agreements. They came together in the union and in treaties. All right, the Treaty of Brussels and the Treaty of Rome, and now they're separated, and that's the Lord letting you know what time we're in. All right. Job 20:4 again. Knowest thou not this of old? All right. And the old I want to go to is Daniel chapter 2, where it was prophesied in 603 BC by Daniel through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, of an image, a system upon this earth, a wicked system upon this earth. All right, starting from ancient Babylon all the way to the daughter of Babylon, America, in the time of the 10 toes, where they begin to hate the whore, all right, the daughter of mystery Babylon, in these times, and where they become divided from what they put together, the Lord tearing down. What they build up, the Lord gonna throw down. All right. It says, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short. See, they have their little moment of glory, and the Lord brings them down. And the joy of the hypocrite for a moment, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? All right. So, all right, his excellency, and that's that excellent or that brilliant image or that system that, you know, they're trying to push towards a new world order in their wickedness, man. But the Lord said, though they reach up into heaven, that's why he said, the scriptures say he saw Lucifer falling like lightning to the earth. Meaning being brought down to hell upon earth, man. All right. And it speaks about the rich man and Lazarus being Jacob, and the rich man being Esau in hell upon earth. All right. So all these elite bankers that we see in wrestling and groveling over the power seat upon earth, the Lord said they're going to lose all that power, lose their throne upon the earth. There's going to be no place found for them. Verse 8, it says, he shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. See that? Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night, right? Like a chase roe. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him, right? This is Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations, man? And that's the Illuminati, or what you would call Esau's elites, the banking elites, and also tied to America. Basically, you can say their whole ruling class system from America to NATO all the way to EU. All right. That's what this is talking about. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, right? That's why scripture said, though their excellency reach up to heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, right? They spread their kingdom out all over the earth. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And all right. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. You see that? So all the way from America, all the way to Europe, they're going to be brought down. This is Daniel chapter 2 and 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his deeps in his sleep break from him. All right, so Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about an image, a statue, and it happened around the second year of his reign. He started ruling in 605 BC. So 2 years later would be 603. All right. So skip down. All right, this is important. So I'm going to bring this out. Daniel chapter 2 and 20. Daniel answered and said, verse 19. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision, right? You had this vision that happened, that was given, even to the heathens. All right, that's why I say, can the heathens get visions too? Yeah, look at Nebuchadnezzar. Alexander too. So the Lord can deal with whoever he wants as far as manipulating the minds of the people. But so it says the vision was revealed unto Daniel in the night vision while he was sleeping. Then Daniel blessed the power of heaven. So he showed Daniel the same dream that Nebuchadnezzar was having. And Nebuchadnezzar, all his Chaldeans and sorcerers and astrologists, all these necromancers and shit, they couldn't figure it out. Verse 20. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Yahweh, the power for name of Yahweh forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings. All right, so he's removing these nations. He's removing Britain from the European Union, removing America from their power seat, and setteth up kings. So he's setting up the children of Israel in the midst of all of this right now. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. All right, and the ones that fear Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, they're considered the wise. And the only ones that fear Yahweh and love him are the elect of Israel. So those are considered the wise, and those are the ones that he gives wisdom to understand these prophecies. He revealeth the deep secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou power of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might. All right, just like he's giving us wisdom, and he's going to increase our strength and might, in these times, and has made known unto me now what we desire of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. So let's get into it. Verse 30. It says, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thine heart. O thou king, thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. All right, and now, if you also go into Daniel chapter 7, it breaks this down as well. All right, the kingdoms upon the earth. All right, verse 32. So this was a terrible image. This was a frightening sight, man. A scary image, man. So it says, this image's head was of fine gold, man. His breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass. All right, so you have what you call the head of gold, which is the Babylonian Empire. And you have the breast of silver, which is the Persian Empire. Then you have the brass, the Greek Empire. Then you have the legs of iron, which would be the Eastern and Western Empire of Rome, the Roman Empire. The Eastern and Western leg of Rome. All right. And then you have, and his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. All right. And when you deal with the feet, you deal with what? The 10 toes. And that goes into Revelation 17. And that's talking about what? In these days, and we're witnessing it, man. Because as we're witnessing this Brexit happen, the breaking up of the European Union and their establishment, we're literally witnessing what the Lord promised. He said, when we see this happen in these times, in those times when we see the Brexit, all right, the iron mixed with clay, then the Lord is going to be building his kingdom upon the earth in that time. So if we represent that kingdom, we're going to see some miracles begin to happen soon. All right. Zephaniah, and mind you, they said between now and 2021, the Brexit will be complete. They'll be completely divided from the European Union. All right. So it says, Zephaniah 3:20, at that time will I bring you again, even the time that I gather you. So the Lord is gathering us now in the spirit, and ultimately to gather us through his angels for deliverance, the hope of salvation. For For I will make you a name and a praise among all people, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith Yahweh. All right, he's turning back our captivity before our eyes. That's why he tells us to watch. We're watching the TV, we're watching the internet, YouTube, so on and so on, all the prophecies. All right, so we're seeing the Lord turn back our captivity before our eyes. All right, so it says his legs of iron and his feet of iron and part of clay. And, you can't mix iron with clay. It doesn't mix. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out with our hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. So the Lord, Yahushua is the stone that the builders refused, that was cut out with our hands. All right. Yahushua is our rock, and is going to destroy their rock. All right. He's our foundation that's going to crush up their foundation, break it up. Now, the feet represents the 10 toes. He said is of iron. That's the power of the Roman Empire, and of clay. So it's partly broken. All right. And so Yahushua is going to show up and break them in pieces, and he's doing it right now. Then was the iron and the clay and the brass and the silver and the gold broken to pieces together. So all these nations are going to be brought down. That's what the scriptures call Yahushua, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, man. And he said upon his head is going to be many crowns, and he's going to smite all these nations. He's going to bring his indignation upon all the nations. That's his whole, that's his, this is Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh. And that's what we're doing, waiting on Yahushua, until the day that I rise up to the prey. And the prey is Esau, the heathen nations. He's going to prove it right here. For my determination, see, that's his determination, is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, meaning his righteous anger. All right. Even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right. Verse 35. Then was the iron and the clay, the brass and the silver and the gold broken to pieces together. All right. The whole new world order is going to be broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. All right. The Lord say, when you see the branches begin to bud, the fig tree, you know that summer is nigh. So they're going to be like the chaff. All right. When the summer is when the summer threshing floors, when Yahushua shows up to thresh these nations, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, meaning no place found in what? Rulership. They're going to lose their thrones. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth, man. All right, so yeah, this is going to be a what? Great foundation, a great government of Israel is going to fill the whole earth, man, and the universe. All right. So we'll start from Jerusalem when the Lord brings us back down from the heavens into Jerusalem. And then it's going to start from there. We're going to branch out, spread around the whole earth. And now it says, so in these times, the Lord is going to show up and smite their system and all the wickedness upon the earth, the wicked. And it says, it's going to become a great government, man, mountain. And it's going to fill the whole earth. And we're part of that. It says, this is the dream, and we will tell thee the interpretation thereof before the king. And this is Daniel and the prophets and believers that were with him, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were considered the wise men of that time. But Nebuchadnezzar was trying to kill him. Excuse me, if they couldn't tell the dream. But the Lord used this opportunity to exalt Daniel, just like He using wisdom to exalt us in these times. It says, this is the dream, and we will tell thee the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the power of heaven have given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory, right? That's why I read earlier, he setteth up kings and removeth kings. He ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. All right. And he riseth up the beggar out of the dunghill and sitteth down among kings. And the beggar represents who? Lazarus, Jacob. Verse 38. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and have made thee rule over them all. Thou art this head of gold. All right, so Babylon was a place of traffic that gathered to themselves all nations. All right, just like America today, it was known as the melting pot. So that head of gold is was Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon, which in 586 BC, Nebuchadnezzar took down our kingdom and burned down our temple. All right. So that was when the tabernacle of David fell, and when it's going to be risen back up spiritually, the tabernacle, the temple, is right in the midst of this Brexit, man. And that's why I want to bring these scriptures out, because in the midst of this Brexit, the Lord is going to begin to set up His kingdom. Like really set it in place, like really set it up upon the earth now. All right. He said, many are called, but few are chosen. Now the Lord is about to start choosing from the ones that were called. The fish. He says, you gather up good fish and bad fish, but the good fish are going to be taken into what? Into the chariots. All right, and separated. It says this, verse 39, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another. So the next kingdom was what? The Persian Empire, which rose up in 550 BC. That's when it was founded in Pars with Cyrus the Great. But in 539, that's when they took Babylon from Belshazzar and Nabonidus. Nabonidus. All right, so Babylon fell to the Persians and the Medes. All right, with around 539 BC. So it was inferior to the Babylonian Empire, because the Babylonian Empire was like big as Egypt. You know, they copied off of Egypt and Assyria. So anyway, and so after the Persian Empire, you have it says what? And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. All right, and that's talking about the Persian Empire. It says, and another third kingdom of brass, and that's talking about the Greek Empire from 330 BC. Even though Alexander was crowned king of Greece in 333, but the battle between, it was called the Siege of Alexander against the Persian Empire, and it lasted for 4 years, from 334 to 330, and he took down what was his name? Darius III. He was known as the king that lost the kingdom to the Greeks. So that's the kingdom of brass. All right, the Greek Empire, which basically created democracy. All right, to where you deal with a republic, and a voting in of a Senate and Caesars and all that. Then you have what? It says, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And that's talking about Alexander. This is First Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes. See that? So that happened in 330 BC. That he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And it says, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. To Alexander. All right, Daniel 2:39. And after these shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. All right, Alexander. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and that's the Roman Empire. All right. It says, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron breaketh that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. All right, and that's your Roman Empire. This is Daniel 7:6. And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So it's talking about what? Alexander the Greek, who died in 323 BC, and his kingdom was taken over by the Edomites over there in Syria. All right, who later started something called what? The Diadochi, or successor pagans, that pushed on their paganism around the 4 corners around the world, the known world. And that's where you get Antiochus Epiphanes, the wicked root. All right, and which later you get what? The Greek Empire, the Greeks, the Syrian Empire. You have the Roman Empire. All right, with the triumvirate. You know, some say 67 BC, some say 69 BC. But with the triumvirate and Julius Caesar in 45 BC, who really established the mindset of today with the presidents and the Roman Empire and all that. And through the triumvirate and the Senate, they put hell on us, man. You know, people like Spartacus, you know, they were killing us. They were killing Jake at that time. So they stamped out the residue. All right. And that's how Marcus Crassus, Julius Caesar, and Pompey, they got their power seat over there in Syria, Greece, and Gaul by killing Israelites, man, and quelching any type of revolts or resistance from Israel, from the Israelites. And they did that for the Senate, to protect the Senate of Greece. All right. So it says, in verse 7, and after this I saw in the night vision. They go vision again. And behold, a 4th beast, is the Roman Empire, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, meaning a strong army. All right, their military, their army, their might, and that's why they got a lot of people with their army, the Roman army. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. See, there were the 10 toes again, or the 10 horns. All right, so the Roman Empire, and you had the European Union. All right, the 10 horns was originally called the 10 common markets. All right, until the fall of the Roman Empire, and they had all the wars back then, and the sack of Rome. I think it was what, 410 BC. All right. Most likely it wasn't 410 BC. It was 410 AD. All right. 410 AD. All right. That's when you had the sack of Rome. Now, the 10 common markets. Now, after the Roman Empire, you had Britain join in, and you had the establishment of America. So this is Daniel 7 and 8. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, and this is America, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. All right, so it's talking about, what's that, France, Spain, and I think Britain, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so now what happened with that was Britain, America pulled France and Spain away from Britain, and then ultimately Britain had to make deals with America, all right, by selling Florida to America, to the eastern, northern parts of the American allied countries, states. All right, the 13 colonies, and that's when you had the War of Independence. And you had 1775 to 1780. You had that war going on to where America was established, all right, in the 1700s. And that's what this is talking about, Daniel 7 and 8. And they all go hand in hand with Daniel 2. Now check this out, verse 9. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down. See, they're all these thrones and rulership upon the earth is being cast down right now as we speaking. All right, in 2020. And the Ancient of Days did sit. So he's sitting to judge the world, judging the earth. All right, which he made. That's 2nd Ezra chapter 9. Whose garment was white as snow in righteousness, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. So this is talking about Yahweh Almighty. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. All right. It says, and a fiery stream issued and came forth from him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him, and thousands, 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. This is on the heavens and upon the earth. The judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. And I beheld even till the beast was slain. So America and NATO and the Roman Empire is going to be slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. See that? And as concerning the rest of the beasts, the kingdoms, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. That's these other nations. All right. Like China, Moab, Ishmael, Ammon, Elam, Asherites, all these different nations upon the earth, Canaanites, Africans, they're going into slavery under the children of Israel upon the earth. But, and they're going to be given some form of living upon the earth. All right. It's going to be order upon the earth. But for 1,000 years, it's going to be hardcore slavery. After that, they're going to serve the children of Israel. But Esau, they're going to be wiped off the face of the earth after 1,000 years. All right. It says, and I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given him to the clouds, talking about what, the chariots, and they thousands of angels, and Yahushua is among them, and there was given him dominion and glory, and that goes with Revelation chapter 5. All right, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and a kingdom, and all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So when is he setting that kingdom up? Right now, man, with us. Revelation 17:12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. There you go, the 10 horns, the 10 toes, the 10 kings, all right, that formed the 10 common markets, or what you call the European Union, all right? 7 heads, 10 horns, that really formed, you have 29 nations, but out of those 29 nations that formed the European Union, only 7 of them and 10 of them agreed with the Western European Union, NATO, and America alliance. That's why it's so specific about the 7 heads and 10 horns. When you look up something called the Western European Union, that's the one. That's the dragon. All right, because that's the one that established an alliance between America, NATO, and the European Union. You see that? The rest of the nations in Europe, they didn't agree with it. They might have just they just tied into what? The European Union, the Treaty of Rome. But to tie into NATO and America, that's what the Lord is talking about. All right. So it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet. All right. Well, so I'm going to go up a couple more verses. Let me see. Let me start from here. Verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. All right. So those 7 nations would be, France, Spain, Germania Minor, Germania Major, Britain. All right. And you have, what was it? Spain, Britain, Germania Major, Germania Minor. All right. I just want to pull this up because I always forget the damn names. But this is from the Apostles' website. And it says what? The Greeks, British, or the Britons, Germania Minor, Spain, France, Rome, and Germania Major. All right. And the horde that's sitting upon it is what? America. All right. And you have your 10 nations, or 10 common market nations right here, man. All right. Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and Western Germany. All right. So England's part of the UK. So soon you're going to hear about Scotland. All right. They're having the Scotland exit from the European Union. So all these nations are breaking off from the European Union, their original agreement, their unity. It says 7 governments or kingdoms ruled by Esau. So all of that right there is breaking up. All right. So you have NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But then you have Ireland that broke off from Britain now. The Republic of Ireland, or Western Ireland. Then you have Northern Ireland, which would be ran by Britain. And that's what the whole holdup was with the Brexit. They were trying to decide what to do with Ireland. Now Ireland is going to become a major player against Britain, because Ireland's still tied to the European Union. Now Ireland is going to be free from British rule. which could really start a war, a civil war again. So they moved the border out to the borderline of Britain out to the ocean instead of on the land. So they don't have to have a hard border to where they have to, they plan on microchipping their citizens. Because you have some people from Ireland living in Britain, some people from Britain living in Ireland. Now, if they have a hard border, those people would become migrants or foreigners in each other's land, just like the land of Israel and the Palestinians are doing with Trump. Today, that deal that he's talking about is going to cause a lot of people on both sides of the borders to lose their tax rights. They got to pay taxes, being migrants and such, and so on and so on. A lot of people are going to become homeless. So you have your 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, it says right here, verse 9, and here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen and 1 is. Talking about the Roman Empire. All right. The Roman Empire is risen back up, called the European Union. All right. And it is also spiritually today is what and the governmentally set up is what through America, the revised Roman Empire. It says, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And it's talking about Britain. And that's your Brexit right there, man. Daniel chapter 2 goes perfectly with Revelation 17 and 10. That's the iron and the clay of the 10 toes of the feet. You have Britain, the Brexit. It said he must continue a short space. All right. And they joined NATO in 1949, 48 or 49. When NATO was fully being established with the Treaty of Brussels in 1949 going up to 1954. All right. When it was fully established. And they set up a base here in DC in 1951, I think it was. All right. So it was called the Brussels Treaty. And that was the foundation for the setup of the Western European Union in 1957. All right, or the European Union, the European economic or the common markets, something like that. Or the European Economic Community. That was the original name of the European Union. All right, the elite bankers, those elite banking countries. And to keep them from going to war with each other, places like France and Spain and so on, they agreed to come into a union, a financial union, and create this European Union to where they would finance a military regime to protect themselves, to protect their riches, their wealth. And that's when they established the European Union Army, and they created later the NATO Army after World War II. All right, which is agreement, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to where all these countries agree. It's just like the triumvirate that was set up, all right, in 69 BC. It's just like that because they have the agreement to where if you war against one, you war against all of the nations. So if you war against Israel, you war against America. You war against America, you're warring against Europe. And all of that right there is breaking up right now. NATO was created as a military beast to go against Russia. But now all those European nations that created NATO, they're cool with Russia. Or they're making deals with Russia at least. So now they have NATO, the beast, has no enemy. It's just, so now who's the enemy? America. The spearhead of the beast, the woman that's sitting upon the beast. All right, it says, these shall hate the whore, man. They're all going to turn against America. It says, verse 12, And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, with NATO. So they receive their power through NATO and America and the European Union. These have one mind. All right, that's the Treaty of Rome and your Brussels Treaty. And shall give their power and strength unto the beast, man. All right, so not all of those nations from the European Union that started with 29 nations. It's talking about the European Union that transformed into the dragon called what? The Western European Union. And if you look on that, on their website, it says 7 nations and 10 nations that agreed. Out of the 29 nations, only 7 of them and 10 of them, so 17 nations, agreed to the alliance of the European Union, NATO, and America. All right. The rest of them didn't want anything to do with it. They just wanted to be a part of the European Union or NATO. So it says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, right? So they're not, they were confederate against us before, but now they're divided. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb, Yahushua, when he shows up, as I read in Daniel 7, the Lamb, Yahushua, shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, just like Babylon, all right, ancient Babylon. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these 10 nations, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked. And that's what they're doing through what you call increasing their balance sheet, hyperinflation, QE4, QE to infinity, creating the dollar, the establishment of the dollar, and then destroying the dollar. All right. So they're stripping America naked and making America desolate right now through what you call the inverted yield curve, or the yield curve. And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled, right? Till the prophecies come to pass. All right. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, meaning America reigns over the nations of the earth as a king. All right. So back to Daniel chapter 2. I'm going to skip down to 39. It says, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over the earth, Greece. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, the Roman Empire. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh in all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, right, even the Roman Empire took in the Greek Empire, all right? All right, it says, whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, see, 10 toes, all right, the end of the system, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. All right, so it's part iron and part clay, meaning it's losing its power. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So even though they're broken up, they're still keeping their economic strength and their power together, at least with the Brexit, until the end of the year. And after that, they're going to cut off all ties. So that's prophecy again. He said the Brexit going to happen, but it's still going to remain in it the power of Rome, the power of Europe. All right, so that's the economic agreement. So they're not going to be fully broken up. Let me get this real quick.
Well, so what exactly is the deal? What will the UK gain and lose? Well, the first to go next year will be the single market and the customs union. But the UK will be able to find new friends, negotiate new global trade agreements. EU regulations go out the window. For example, GM food companies like Bayer, which bought Monsanto in 2018, aren't allowed to develop or sell new genetically modified products in Europe or the UK. Brexit could change all that. Well, the biggest Brexit blockage was Northern Ireland. The question of border and customs checks seemed almost impossible to resolve. Both sides argued until the cows came home.
All right, so Daniel chapter 2 and 42, it says, actually, I'm going to start from 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, man. So just like the Brexit, Britain is broken off from European Union, but it still has that power of the European Union, meaning it still has ties to it. All right. And they're going to lengthen that out to the end of the year. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And that's prophecy. And he says, then they'll be able to what? Do deals with these other nations after the Brexit is complete. So after the end of this year, Britain will be able to deal with other nations. Right now, they can't. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken, just like now. So, all right. So they're partly together and they're still partly broken apart. Whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So when Britain, Scotland, France, all these different nations try to break off from the European Union, their power seat, and try to mingle with Ethiopia, China, all these different nations, they're not going to be able to build it, man. The Lord is going to shut all that down. All right. And they're not going to mix together. Like Africa doesn't want to deal with France. All right. So it said they're not going to mix. It said, but this is the point, man. And in the days of these kings, so we in that time, man, shall Yahweh, the power of heaven, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest the stone, that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and the mountain being Israel, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.